Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the Mail It In podcast. I'm Clayton. This is my dad, Chris. We're super excited to get into another episode.
Super excited.
So today we're going to be doing a little bit of a format here. We're going to have 5 envelopes. We're going to randomly pick from these 5, and they have topics in each of them, and we have under 1 minute to get through each topic. So
Tied in with our Mail It In podcast.
Let me set up my timer.
Envelopes.
All right.
All right.
So who do you want to pick first, or
I will pick the first topic.
all right?
All right.
Once you tell me it, I'm gonna start the timer.
We got Tigers future.
Tigers future. All right. The Detroit Tigers recently hired a new general manager. Tigers are historically bad. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2014. Not very good. Future-wise, they have some decent prospects to my knowledge, but I don't think they have anything, at least in terms of if they want to get to the playoffs in the next few years. I don't see them going to the playoffs.
I would say the Tigers have not been historically bad, but they have had a rough stretch lately, especially with Avila as the GM, who has been horrible. But
15 seconds.
Things are looking up. I think that they have a lot of potential going forward. You can't get much worse. They've traded away all their stars. They need to basically build from scratch, and it's going to be a long haul, considering they keep
Next topic
doing it.
Michigan State versus Indiana. This was their first game. This was their first home game since the mass shooting tragedy that happened there. Pretty emotional game for them. I think the final score was 80-65. Malik Hall and AJ Hogard carried the game for them. Freshman Charlie Quayle had a good game too, but overall it was an emotional game and they needed the win.
I believe they had a rough start from what I read. I did not see the game, but I believe they said they had a slow start. They picked it up, kind of took over the game, and went from there. But yeah, obviously a big win for them, first home game, obviously since the tragedy. So
15 seconds.
Yeah, so that was it was good. It was good for them, and I think they played at Michigan already afterward, but that was the first home game, so it was good.
Next topic is Tyler Bertuzzi news and the Red Wings' recent success. So Tyler Bertuzzi was recently taken off the trade block because, simply to put it, the Red Wings have been winning games, which is kind of a turn for the better, I'd say, in terms of they haven't made the playoffs since 2016. They're looking really good. Jacob Vrana returned to the lineup last night, and so they've overall been really well. I think they still need to trade Tyler Bertuzzi.
They certainly have been catching fire lately. It's been really good to see. Before this, there's been a lot of talk about who should they trade, who should they keep. Larkin is asking for a lot of money. To me, he hasn't really earned it until lately. He's been playing lights out like couldn't believe how good he's been playing. Bertuzzi is a good player. His contract's okay, but he's always hurt, and that's the thing that makes him expendable, I think.
Next topic is the Lions' offseason goals. The Lions had a really good not a really good offseason yet. They had a really good end to their regular season. They won 7 of the last 8 games. Kind of got screwed there by Seattle beating the Rams, I believe. But no, in terms of off-season goals, I think they need to have a really good draft again, obviously, and then I think they can start to bring in some free agents that kind of want to be a part of Dan Campbell's team.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading a little bit about some of the local writers who thought that that they would be taking still some linemen.
15 seconds.
That's always the big debate, and you never know. Brad Holmes has done a really good job of drafting, which has been the key to their turnaround. They have drafted like absolute garbage through the Matt Millen era, obviously, and for the one, until he came. So drafting the right guys is obviously key.
Last topic is going to be the Notre Dame basketball team and their down season this year, which is in question mark because, well, Notre Dame basketball hasn't necessarily been a blue blood in the college basketball program. They made the Sweet 16, I believe, last year, but they're due to have a really good season. They brought back almost all their players, I believe, besides Blake Wesley, who got drafted by the Spurs. But they're supposed to be a good veteran group, and Mike Bray is now leaving at the end of the year, and it's just not a good scene.
Yeah, it has been a pretty disappointing year for them. We watched them a few times, and some of the guys that had been there for a while, you were expecting more from them. I didn't know if the Mike Bray thing was a done deal,
10
but
seconds.
I think it was pretty much like I think he's pretty much told them that he's going to leave, which I think he's done well. Like I said, with the resources they have, they've never been a blue blood, but they're doing the best they can. So maybe they make the tournament, but I don't think so this year.
So that was our quick 5 topics in 5 minutes. So now I am going to be asking my dad some old historic Lions trivia. So
I fancy myself a little bit of an NFL historian, but as far as Lions specific, that might be a little tough for me, but we'll see how this goes.
What city did the Detroit Lions first call home?
What, you mean like something like Pontiac or something?
Nope.
Or
where was their first?
This is not going to go well. I can tell you that right now.
Where was the team
before they came to Detroit?
Before they came to Detroit.
Oh boy, I don't think I can remember. It may have been somewhere in Illinois or something like that, if memory serves. But I saw a YouTube podcast on where all the teams used to be and where they were. It was super interesting. If we can link to it, I will. I'll try to find it. But I do not remember where the Detroit Lions came from initially because they've been there so stinking long.
Portsmouth, Ohio in 1934.
Okay, so you got me on that one.
Right.
We'll see how this goes, but
which player supposedly put a 50-year curse on the Detroit Lions?
Well, Bobby Lane, and that was really interesting because there was that little snippet with what was his name? It was with Peyton Manning and the other gentleman. I can't remember his name off the top of my head from Detroit, and they did that little curse of Bobby Lane break thing with the big tub on the field that was full of booze or whatever. Daniels, I think, is his name. But that was really funny, and that was really cool. And coincidentally, right after that, the Lions started to completely turn their season around. So take that for whatever you want.
Which Lions wide receiver was nicknamed Megatron? That's too easy. Kelvin Johnson, obviously. What Motown singer tried out for the Detroit Lions in 1970?
Oh, boy. What Motown singer tried out for the Detroit Lions in 1970? I have no idea. I've never heard of that before.
Marvin Gaye says he bulked up 30 pounds and trained with the future Hall of Famer receiver Charlie Sanders.
Okay.
What were the?
I like Marvin Gaye, but didn't know he ever had aspirations for football.
What were the Lions originally called in 1928?
1928. Well, if they came out of Portsmouth, what would you say? Not Portsmouth, Port something, Ohio. It could be anything. I have no idea. The Bulldogs.
It was the Spartans. So.
Okay.
And then last one here we'll do. What is the fewest yards the Lions have ever allowed in a game?
Ever allowed. Though they had some pretty good teams back in the 50s, so that's kind of tough. I would say maybe 20 some yards.
It was 14 yards against the Chicago Cardinals in 1940.
Chicago Cardinals. So there you go. And again, we can go into a little more Lions history earlier, but before the Super Bowl era, they actually had some good teams, and that was way before I was born and before my time. But they had some good players, and if you go to Ford Field, you can see a lot of their names up on the in the stadium on the side there. So that's
we were at
pretty
Ford
cool.
Field for Caledonia's state final game, so that was pretty cool.
So a lot of good players, and they've had good players over the course of time, but they've just had a lot of issues that's kept them from being good. But the future looks bright with Mr. Campbell as the coach, I guess. So we'll leave it at that.
And if you go to Ford Field, remember to bring a card or you will not be able to get any concessions, because I found out that they do not take cash at the concession stand.
Was that just for
So-
the high school games? Or was that
It's
for
there was a big poster and it said no cash, just card. So
Of course,
I don't know.
most people these days don't really have cash, but I don't seem to ever. The only time I have cash is when I have to go to a sports event like volleyball or basketball where I got to pay to get in,
Which would
is,
be the football game, but
well, obviously the state championship is a little bit of an exception, but yeah, that's always it's always interesting when you go to lacrosse games or hockey games where you never have to pay anything other than maybe parking, and you go to basketball and volleyball and they think they got you inside a gym, so they like charge what they can. Although I think for Lincoln 7-on-7 football, Lincoln,
they don't know who Lincoln is.
Okay, Lincoln is Clayton's younger brother, but they did charge for some of those tournaments too. So I guess if you're indoors captive inside a field house or gymnasium, that's when they get you. But if you're outside or whatever, it's a lot harder. So they don't really try to. I guess I don't know.
So that wraps up episode 2
Okay.
of our Mail It In podcast. We're stuck in a little bit of a snowstorm, I'd say. So just kind of grinding out these episodes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.